In today's video, I'm going to share the 5 worst mistakes you are making right now in the gym that are killing your progress. Because if someone had just told me that I was making these mistakes when I first started lifting, not only would I have gotten results so much sooner, but I also would have saved months of wasted time and energy in the gym. So let's just jump right in with mistake number 1. The biggest mistake that people make in the gym is comparing themselves to others and letting other people influence their training. This mistake is most common in younger people, where they try and lift more than they can handle, either to impress their friends or impress other people in the gym. And then they end up doing things like squatting at half depth, or folding themselves like a garden chair trying to pick 200 kilos off the floor in a deadlift. And while I understand that it's frustrating to see other people, especially people your own age, lifting more than you, as someone who has spent years in the gym, trust me when I tell you, not a single person in there cares how much weight you can lift if you're doing it with bad form. Because not only are you putting yourself at risk of injury and having to take time off the gym, but if you can't actually control the weight and take the exercise through its full range of motion, you're not giving the muscle the stimulus and the stress that it needs to break down and grow. And essentially, you're just wasting your time in the gym. I think it's really important here to remember that the gym is a lifelong journey, and having poor form early on and learning these bad habits is only going to lead to you having to strip back the weight, slap your ego in the face, and relearn good form again. This actually brings me to our second mistake, which is that you've been fooled by your favorite influencer. And what I mean by this is you've found your favorite influencer online, and yes, they're inspiring and you want to have their physique, but you've ended up doing a fad workout that they're promoting because they're claiming that it's the secret to muscle growth. And I actually fell for this one very hard early on in my lifting journey. I found my favorite big booty influencer online and copied their routine to a T, thinking that it was going to grow my glutes just like hers. Getting fooled by others is just part of the process. If you think about it, when you first start out, you have no idea what you're doing in the gym. And more often than not, people online love to get clicks and they love to promote the secret that they've been hiding from you. And this is how you actually grow your glutes, when in reality the only secret to that is it's a massive waste of time. The best exercises for growth aren't a secret, and they're unbelievably basic. Focusing on your main compound movements like your squat variations, your deadlifting variations, and bench variations are gonna get you most of the way in your lifting journey when it comes to building muscle. Not Becky's secret hip thrust, glute kickback, squat variation that's gonna grow your glutes in 6 weeks. It's just not realistic. And piggybacking off of this mistake comes our next mistake, and I honestly still kick myself for making this one. The main reason why you're not seeing any muscle growth is because you're not tracking your workouts week by week. I mean, going into the gym with no plan and just doing whatever you feel like is great if you have no goal of growing consistent muscle over time. But if your goal is to grow and keep growing over time, it is absolutely crucial that you adhere to the foundational aspect of growing muscle, and that is progressive overload. And to actually implement progressive overload, you're going to need to start tracking your workouts. And most of you probably already know about progressive overload, but personally, when I first started lifting, I had no idea this was even a thing. Progressive overload is basically just the process of increasing the amount of stress that you're putting on your muscles when you exercise. This doesn't just have to be done by adding weight every single week. Research has shown that you can also do this by just upping your reps every single session you go into the gym. From the offset, progressive overload sounds super scary and difficult to implement, but it's honestly very easy. All you're gonna do is start by writing down your exercises in every single workout for the week. Then, all you're gonna need to do is pick a manageable weight for each exercise that you know that's gonna challenge you, but you can still do with good form for around 6 to 15 reps. And as the weeks go on, you'll get stronger, and inevitably, you'll just pass this rep range. This is where your weekly tracking comes in. You can then use your log of your workout the week before to know how much weight you can add onto the bar this week, or to know if you're actually progressing at all from last week. And when you do end up progressing in weight on your lifts, I recommend just adding a few kilos at a time, so we don't end up with our first mistake where we're lifting more than we can handle, have bad form, and snap ourselves in half. And although this may seem very straightforward to a lot of you, it is so important, probably the most important thing to keep in mind when you're working out, because it's literally the driver of your progress forward, especially as a beginner. So when we do first start working out, I think it's really easy to get caught in the trap of thinking more time in the gym equals more gains. But that is literally the opposite of the truth. Because believe it or not, muscle isn't actually grown in the gym. It's grown in the time that you are not in the gym and you're not working out. When you exercise, you cause tiny little tears in your muscles, And in order for your muscles to grow, these tears need to be repaired. And if you're constantly working out one muscle group every single day of the week, you're not giving yourself enough time for those tears to repair. And not only does this hinder your progress, it actually makes it more likely that you're going to get injured and then end up having to take time off the gym and throw all your progress out of the window altogether. So in order to overcome this mistake, here's the simple guideline that you need to follow. Firstly, do not train the same muscle every single day. Researchers have found that muscle protein synthesis spikes up around 24 hours after training, but then goes back down near, if not to baseline, around 48 to 72 hours after training. After 2 or 3 days, your muscles have adapted to that initial stress you put on them in your workout, and they're now ready to be trained again. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you can't exercise daily, because you totally can. All you need to do is alternate the muscle groups that you train on the different days of the week. Instead of training them back to back, leave around 1 or 2 days in between just to give yourself enough time to repair so you can push yourself harder next session and fuel that muscle building process further. And another really important point I just want to quickly add into the overtraining mistake category here is stop doing over 10 exercises per session. Research has actually suggested that we have a per workout upper threshold for volume, which basically means doing 10 exercises for one muscle group in one session and absolutely killing the muscle probably is the worst thing you can do for growth. So instead of absolutely destroying your quads on Monday with 10 exercises and 30 sets, it would be so much better from a growth standpoint to split this up throughout the week across a few different workouts instead of just one. This will make sure that we're still recovering while also giving our muscle the chance to adapt and grow. Also, another point that I'm just going to throw in here, and I feel like this is ridiculously overlooked, but you need to be getting enough sleep, because sleep is honestly going to be your best friend when you're trying to recover. If you can get around 7 to 9 hours every single night of good quality sleep, you're going to notice a dramatic increase in not only your muscle recovery, but your strength and your energy in the gym, which in turn is going to help you push so much harder during your workouts and see more growth in the future. The last mistake here is one that far too many people make, even those people who class themselves as advanced in the gym or super knowledgeable about working out, and that is underappreciating completely the importance of nutrition in seeing results. Training without eating enough is like trying to run a car with no fuel in the tank, or eating improper foods is like running your car on apple juice. It just does not work. So no matter how many hours you are spending in that gym or how hyper optimal your training plan is, you're not going to see any results if your nutrition is not up to scratch. Getting in enough protein, carbs, and healthy fats alongside progressing in your weightlifting is the absolute key to what is going to get you results. But how do we know how much of each macronutrient we should eat in order to see results? First, let's start with arguably the most important macronutrient for muscle building, and that is protein. Now, knowing the amount of protein that you should be eating every single day is actually really challenging to understand because there's just so many competing views online. For instance, the World Health Organization recommends just 0.8 grams of protein per every kilogram of body weight, or around 0.36 grams of protein per every pound of body weight. However, this recommendation actually doesn't take into account weight training and muscle building, and many protein experts have called for an increase to reflect that. How much protein you actually need will depend on whether you're cutting, bulking, or doing a recomposition phase. A number that seems to come up across all phases is around 1 gram per pound of body weight. And to figure out how much fat and carbohydrates you should be eating, it's actually a little bit simpler. Personally, I always set my fat intake to around 20 to 35%, which mainly comes from sources such as nuts, oils like olive oils, eggs, oily fish, and avocados. And then after I have my protein and my fat intake, I simply fill the rest of my intake in with carbohydrates, which usually comes from my favorite oats or grains like rice, and also potatoes and other starchy vegetables. I would also very quickly like to note here that although it is really important to follow a diet that is filled with whole foods and nutrient dense foods that will fuel your workouts, it's also very important not to demonize fun foods like ice cream or chocolate that you love and enjoy. There are no good and bad foods, and absolutely everything can have its place in a well-balanced diet. And that's why I always suggest to people to follow the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your foods come from whole foods, foods that are rich in macro and micronutrients that are going to help you progress in the gym and fuel your workouts, and then have at it with the other 20%. Eat foods that you love, foods that fuel your soul, and allow yourself a little bit of room to also have a bit of of fun while sticking mainly to a nutrient-dense diet. And that is all that I have for you guys today. Hopefully this video shed light on the mistakes you didn't even know you were making in the gym that were holding you back from making progress. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up or comment down below if you find this video helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I will catch you guys in the next one.